Now joining me in studio is Kate Gallego, the mayor of Phoenix, Arizona. Mayor Gallego has ideas on how to make Phoenix the most sustainable desert city and how infrastructure money can help achieve that goal. Welcome and thanks for joining us in studio.
It's good to be with you.
It's great to talk to a live person in studio. Well, what are the infrastructure priorities for Phoenix, and how does the bill, now law, help your city?
We are the fastest growing city in the United States, fifth largest city, and we're doing that in a desert environment where we have to make sure we have a sustainable water supply. We also really think a lot about our transportation system, and being Phoenix, we want to make sure Phoenix does not need to get any hotter than it already is, right, so that we're managing our greenhouse gas emissions. We're making a big push on electric vehicles, which we think is a technology that makes sense for us from an air quality perspective, as well as we have a great concentration of EV companies in the greater Phoenix area. We've been dubbed the Electric Valley because of all of those companies coming together. So invite you to come out. We're hosting a football game in the greater Phoenix area this February. Will be the first Super Bowl where you can...
I was going to ask you about that.
You can go from the NFL honors party to the free concert to the fan zone in an autonomous electric vehicle.
Yeah, no, it doesn't, after week one, it doesn't look like my New York Jets will be there in February. Cardinals had a rough game as well, but they have a better, I think, shot to be there. But on the heat, you mentioned heat. How much of that is such a challenge? And tell me about cool pavements. I have never heard about this until I looked at the research our team put together.
We are the first city in the country to create an Office of Heat Response and Mitigation that's a permanent part of government and looks at the entire city. How can we think smart about heat? One of the programs they work on is a cool pavement program where we put a lighter colored coating on the streets. It's reflective, and it's the same sort of idea. You don't wear a black t-shirt when you're going out somewhere that's hot. Right. The pavement had been holding in the heat, including overnight. We now have data from Arizona State saying it is 10 to 12 degrees cooler, so it's a difference
10 to 12 degrees
that you can feel.
Okay.
And it doesn't have costs that are hard for anybody. It just makes it a more comfortable community. It does look a little bit grayer, so we get questions from some residents why the streets change color. Right. But overwhelmingly, we get more residents saying, when you come into my neighborhood, I want my kids to be out biking on a more comfortable city street. That's pretty
great idea. You mentioned the Super Bowl. What are the infrastructure needs for such a big event that's upcoming in February?
Well, we will be powering it with clean renewable energy, which makes sense. We're one of the sunniest regions in the country, and so to take advantage of the great sun is important. It's a huge transportation challenge. It will be the busiest day at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. It'll also be the busiest day for our transit system. Part of the reason that many of the events involving the Super Bowl are in downtown Phoenix is we have the most built out transportation system, and with the light rail you can move in a lot more people. It is funny though, we are trying to expand the system, and we've told our construction partners all of the construction in downtown must be done before the Super Bowl parties come to town. We want to take advantage of that.
The infrastructure law, talking to a number of experts today, and obviously various communities want to get their piece of the pie. How much is going to be coming to Phoenix, Arizona from the bipartisan infrastructure law?
We are going to see a great partnership to modernize our airport, including making it faster once you get in the plane to get into the air, which we know no one wants to be sitting waiting on the tarmac. Right. Secretary Buttigieg was just in Phoenix to announce we're getting a major riverfront redevelopment grant. Phoenix exists where we do because of the Salt River. We were a farming community, but we've sort of turned our back on that, and with the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, we'll have a great chance to really reinvigorate that. It was actually a dream of Senator John McCain that he talked to President Biden about when they were in previous jobs, and it's neat to see us moving forward with the federal partnership in that area. We also got a great grant to help our bus system go towards low emissions, which helps us with the electric valley vision, as well as maybe looking at hydrogen as a possible solution.
You mentioned earlier electric vehicles. What are some of the goals for Phoenix? There are federal goals of obviously using more EVs and eventually phasing out gas-powered cars. Well, what is the vision you have for Phoenix?
We have a citywide electric vehicle strategy passed unanimously, and we have a very diverse council philosophically.
Passed unanimously.
It was bipartisan.
Wow. Okay.
Always good news.
Yeah.
EVs has been one of the areas where in Arizona we've come together across party lines, and part of that is just it's such a large industry for us. We are looking at 280,000 vehicles in just Phoenix by 2030, which is huge investments to be able to get there. We're mapping out our city and trying to figure out where we can put in public charging. Libraries and parks have been particularly popular, although the zoo has the most popular charging station because they have this whole rhino charging thing that's very clever, and people can charge while they go in and see the great animals.
Wow, that's great. That's great. As far as prioritizing, life is about prioritizing. How does your city prioritize what it needs and what could wait? How do you do that?
The administration has been great about reaching out, Mitch Landrieu himself, and asking what is most important to you. We have looked at what are our biggest economic engines. Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport is one of the 10 busiest airports for takeoffs and landings in the world, so continuing to invest in that was incredibly important to the economic well-being of our region. We, like many cities that are in a river valley, have real air quality challenges. The air gets trapped, and vehicles emissions is another big area where we have opportunity for improvement, and that's part of the reason we're putting such a push on clean vehicles. But also, again, it helps us move towards the industries of the future. And then we're a desert community, so water supply always has to be at the top of the list. We are one of the many communities that depend on the Colorado River, which is severely over-allocated, and so the money in both the Infrastructure and Jobs Act and the Inflation Reduction Act for drought is important to us.
We've been doing a series at the Hill called Dried Up and highlighting the water shortages. How bad is it in Phoenix right now?
So we do have a 100-year water supply, but we're trying to hopefully invest in water reuse and other technologies, and we're having fun as we do it. So we're trying to get people exposure to that technology. We did a microbrewing challenge where all the breweries in Phoenix created beer with reclaimed water and had a lot of fun with that.
I bet that was popular, yeah.
As an elected official, I felt like I had to participate on behalf of my community. I was doing some global climate change work and came in front of then Prince Charles, now King Charles, and was telling about what we're doing in Phoenix around climate change. And he really zeroed in on the reclaimed water beer challenge. So it was sort of those surreal moments where my staff was like, I can't believe the mayor's talking to Prince Charles about reclaimed water beer. But he was deeply interested. Do you think I should send him a coronation gift?
I think that would be nice. I think that would be very nice. As far as, we're in a weird time economically. We're still in a pandemic, 2.5 years in, and it's led to kind of an uneven economy where there are some good signs and bad signs. And the labor, there's a rail strike issue that we'll be talking about. But as far as labor shortages, how has that been? It's affected every industry, including journalism, where it's harder to find talent. What's the labor issues going on in Arizona right now? Is it hard to find talented people, and how do you do it?
Phoenix is the fastest growing city in the country, so we've had a lot of people moving into our market and chasing higher wage jobs. We've done a big push in the semiconductor industry, and we've had to partner with our community colleges to make sure we had folks ready to fill those jobs, which seems to be going well. But then we've had other issues like lifeguards shortage was an issue for us at the city of Phoenix. We couldn't find as many people who wanted to be lifeguards, which I feel like when I was in high school, those were the cool kids, the summer lifeguards.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I saw a sign of recently in my Virginia neighborhood of lifeguards wanted experience preferred, and if I'm at a pool, I'd prefer the experience of a lifeguard instead of an inexperienced one. You deal with D.C., you're in D.C. this week. How is it? Take us behind the scenes of the coordination that mayors have with the White House and maybe Congress and other people in D.C.
We work very closely with the White House and the cabinet agencies. There's several groups like the U.S. Conference of Mayors, climate mayors that all come together and try to make sure mayors understand what's in these very large pieces of legislation and how to apply. It's really felt like this is an administration that values mayors. There are so many mayors in leadership positions, including the cabinet and the position that Mayor Landrieu has. I was actually in a conversation with some deputy mayors in London. We were trying to help them understand how we are responding to heat. And I had such a laundry list of things that the federal government was partnering with us, and they were quite jealous because their national government doesn't have as many tools for cities as we do. And that's been really wonderful. We'll bring a problem to them and they look for solutions.
Has the communication been better in the Biden administration than in the Trump administration? Now, obviously, the law just passed, to be fair to the Trump administration, but was there constant communication or not as much in the Trump administration with mayors in your experience?
We had a real challenge with the Trump administration. We would have issues like we had facilities for migrants in our community and they didn't tell us, and then we'd find out when there was like a 911 call to the police department that they were looking for someone, which was just a hard way to find out. In some ways, the Biden administration communicates so often that you have 3 opportunities a week to get in a conversation with them, and we're trying to figure out which ones we take because I don't want to say over communicate, but there is always an opportunity to jump on a Zoom and get an update from the White House, which is very refreshing. And it's just been nice. Every time I come to DC and present a problem, we learn about a new solution. So that's refreshing.
Okay. Well, Mayor Gallego, thank you so much. And really appreciate you coming in studio and spending some time with us.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me back.